My dinner was so good. We went to this Japanese restaurant and I'm basic. I got spicy tonkatsu and then, well, let me backtrack. We got for appetizer, we got simai, which is kind of interesting. It was like shrimp simai at a Japanese restaurant. And then we also got the takoyaki.
Oh, I love takoyaki.
Oh my
It hits.
God.
I'm not gonna lie though, there's not a lot of places in Boston that do takoyaki, which makes me really sad. And I don't know if it's like an availability thing or
Yeah.
like it's hard to make or something.
In Boston, is there like a large, not Vietnamese, but like a large Asian community?
There is, but I don't know, like something about the food scene. Like I can't say it's like, for example, as good as like New York or like Seattle or LA.
New York.
I've heard that food is really good in like Houston and like
Yeah.
Austin.
Yeah. Oh my God.
Especially,
Yes.
though.
Yes. So Houston, we have a large Vietnamese community. Was that me? Oh, it is me. We have a large Vietnamese community, and the food here is just so good. Vietnamese Cajun crawfish, so good. If y'all love crawfish, please come to Houston. I'm going to say the most controversial thing on this podcast. I think Houston has the best crawfish in the world.
Oh,
Okay, in the
shit.
world.
Wait, even West Coast? I've had it in the West Coast and I thought it was amazing.
We're better.
Oh, okay. I've never been to Texas, but I don't know if I shared this other connection I have, but I literally like half my friend group is from San Antonio, Texas.
I visited San Antonio for the first time in like 15 years this past Christmas to visit my BF. And I only stayed in San Antonio for, I think, 3 or 4 days. And whenever I travel to another city, even if it's in Texas, I try to make an itinerary and make the most of that trip. So I plan everything back to back, visiting museums, visiting parks, if there are like any hiking spots and whatnot. And girl, let me tell you, San Antonio for 4 days, that schedule was not packing. Like there's nothing to do. I'm sorry to my San Antonians, but there's nothing to do. We visited this really nice science/history museum. I forgot what it's called, but it was really nice. It was very interactive. And then we also visited. We couldn't visit the art museum. I forgot why. And then we visited this small Jewish museum, which is really, really nice. What else did we do? Oh, we visited the San Antonio Zoo lights. That was really nice. That was really nice. And then the Riverwalk. Oh, and then the Alamo. Oh my gosh. As a Texan, I failed because I did not remember the Alamo. Oh my gosh. Remember the Alamo. Yeah, those were like the only things that were exciting. There was nothing else to do in San Antonio.
That's so funny. Yeah, my friends, actually one of my friends, Allison, is actually in San Antonio right now.
Allison,
she's
who?
visiting. Last name. We can talk about this offline. Probably. I don't know if she wants you to name drop her like that.
I'll bleep.
Okay. Allison.
Wait, are you serious? Allison?
Yes. Wait. What?
Yes, I know her.
Are we talking about the same chick? I feel like that's
yes. Wait. Okay. Describe her.
Like she's blonde now, but I know that she's a natural brunette. Yes. No fucking way.
Yeah. Okay. Now I'm messing with you. I don't know who she is.
Oh my God. You using your acting skills on me.
I think I did the same thing on episode 2 or 3 or something. I do that to everyone. Whenever someone's like, "Oh yeah, I know," or "You don't know," blah blah blah. But I'm like, just try me. What's their name?
Well, like the craziest thing is like from going to BU, like I don't know why, but there's so many Texans that go to BU, but like
real. Oh yeah, that's true.
The world is so small, and I just discovered this in college, and I would just have random connections with people that I had no idea were connected to each other. But anyway, yeah, one of my friends is in San Antonio right now, and I asked her, I was like, "Oh, actually, I've never asked about your hometown that much." Like,
she's like, "Good, don't ask about it."
She was like, I was like, is it urban? Is it suburban? Like, how would you describe it? She goes, it's, boring. Like, it's suburban.
Maybe. It's a city. It's in Texas. It's a city. Definitely. I mean, I think did I even try any food? No, I was told to not like try the Tex-Mex there. That's what I was told.
Really?
The Tex-Mex in Houston is so good. Austin, it's a little gentrified. So.
Oh, okay. That's the kind of Mexican food that we have here. It's
Gotcha, gotcha.
definitely
Yeah.
gentrified, not like super authentic. But yeah, like, but one of my friends was throwing around the idea of going to Texas for like July 4th this year. I don't know if it's still happening or not, but because I don't think any official plans have been made yet, but pending if I do end up coming to Texas.
If you come to Houston,
Uh,
please give me a heads up so that I can plan my experiments around and then give you a little tour of Houston.
yes, I would love that.
There's so much to do in Houston. Well, I say that, but I'm like right now, I'm just like, I'm ready to get out. I'm ready to move into the city. But there's a lot to do in Houston. There's the museum district. There is the medical center. Well, I mean, you can't do anything in the medical center, but it's nice because it's very reminiscent of kind of like campus life for me, at least in Austin. There are a lot of great gardens.
Gardens.
Yeah. My mom loves gardens. Okay. So I every time I'm like looking at a new city, especially if I'm traveling with my family, I try to find gardens because I know that my mom would want to go to them. With my brother, we try to find like hiking spots in Houston. Oh, and the food is so good. Chinatown, so good, so
That's
good.
so wholesome. Oh my gosh. Like, well, I guess Houston, I'm thinking is a very large and spread out city. Whereas like Boston's very like small and congested. So I'm just
Mm.
thinking geographically, like, yeah, that would make sense. You guys have a lot of like different
Yeah,
types of activities where I feel like it's, I don't know. Boston's kind of like limited because it's so small.
I've been
Um,
told, but I feel like it's also very historic, right?
yeah, it is, but maybe just because I've lived here for forever, like whenever someone goes off about like, I don't know, the Boston Massacre or
Oh, I
some
was
like
thinking, come
pilgrims
on,
and stuff.
Boston Tea Party. I was thinking
Yeah.
about that.
But
Like,
like,
are there like, I don't know, like plaques and like, this is a spot where this is the area where they spilled the tea, not spilled the tea.
yeah,
Well, I mean, yes. I guess they did spill the tea, didn't they? Huh?
they did.
Wow.
I know.
I'm a true American.
I know. I'm a founding father. Like I
Yeah.
live in the place where people started spilling tea day
I'm a
one.
founding daddy. Imagine though. Okay, I'm kind of mad that we started calling them like I don't know why, but why do we start calling them founding fathers?
I don't no
I say
idea.
let's go back, petition to rewrite the books and call them founding daddies. Not even daddies, not with a D, but with a Z. Founding daddies.
That's so
Like that.
funny. Do you listen to Call Her Daddy podcast?
No, but you are the third person to like ever mention it.
I have only listened to like a handful of episodes, mostly when like the drama of that podcast was going down at
Mhm.
the time. But yeah, I don't know, not my personal style, but like mad
Not
respect
your
to
cup of
these
tea.
ladies. Yeah, it's not my cup of tea. It's like raunchy a little bit. Not that I'm a prude or anything, but it can be a bit much for like my like
Wow,
8 a.m.
you're
commute.
prude. You're prude and raunch shaming. Wow.
I mean, go get you some girl, but it's just like not what I want to listen to. Like, when I'm like, at the computer with my coworkers like surrounding me. But anyway.
Okay. Yeah, we got okay. So we literally went off on a tangent. I really want to continue our conversation that at this point, last week's episode, or I guess what we talked about a couple hours ago would be our last week's episode. That's the idea. That's the plan, at least. And so maybe we should backtrack a bit. Backtrack. Maybe like give like a little like a little preview. Like
Oh,
on
like
last week's
yeah.
episode, we talked about cow dip and death drop. You know?
Also, oh my gosh, like I think I saw in your story that you like auditioned for like, a Ryan's World part or something. My
Okay.
cousin's child is like obsessed with Ryan's World. And that's why I'm familiar with it. But
Okay. Backtrack. Okay. So what really blows my mind, what really like gags me is that yeah, I post a lot of stuff on the internet and it never hits me that like yes, like there are real people on the internet obs, but it doesn't hit me that like when I'm posting stuff out there, like I'm just thinking like these are just like robots viewing my stories. I don't
yeah.
know, like it doesn't hit me until like what you just did when people bring up like, oh, you auditioned for Ryan's Wood. I'm like, oh my god, like whoa.
I know too much. I'm like a stalker.
No, not that. It's just like, wow, this is real life. Like, I don't know. That sounds stupid. Like, of course it's real life,
Yeah.
but
Also,
you
like
know
I
what I
do
mean?
have to disclaim that like all my friends say this about me. Like I like have a really good memory. If you tell me something, I usually remember it. And at the
Give me
probably
that. I need that right now. I need that power. I need that power.
I
Give
think
it to
that
me.
that came in handy when studying bio and stuff. Obviously, it's like mostly memorization. But anyway,
Mhm.
like yeah, and I just remember facts about people. So that's why I like yeah, I remember some random tidbits and such. Like people are
That
always
is very impressive.
amazed, but like yeah, I had a recently had a similar experience where like I met this woman who's just like the CEO of this like fitness app,
Hmm.
and she was telling me I had no idea that she was like following me and like looking at my stories like carefully and stuff. And she was like, "Oh my gosh, like something you posted the other was so funny." And she like literally like said like my exact caption and the exact GIF I used. And she was like, "It
Whoa.
was so funny." And I felt the same way. I was like, "Oh my gosh, like I'm so flattered that you remembered like my little like complaint." I was really complaining about like the freaking like public transit, like the subways in Boston or
Mm.
something. Cause yeah, it
Yeah,
was like
yeah.
shut down or something. And I just thought it was cool. I was like, "Oh my God, I feel so honored. Thank you."
Once again, we share a lot of the same. I feel like from our previous episode, we talked about how we shared the same journeys, and now we're sharing the same feelings. Oh my gosh! Wow. Yeah, let's do a little recap from last week's episode.
Yes. Okay, yeah. Okay. So I'm not gonna like derail the conversation every time we segue, but okay. So last episode, I was just telling the story of how I had kind of a bad coworker experience. And yeah, like my coworker basically abandoned our lab in the
Hmm.
beginning of COVID, the first chance he could possibly take,
Yeah.
because basically he was engaged to someone who is not a citizen of the United States. And basically she kind of was having visa troubles, and it was kind of like a traumatic experience of getting held up by TSA, and he wanted to be with her to support her or whatever. Yeah, at this point he had already taken like a month off basically, and I was at that point like running like 100% of the daily
Hmm.
lab
Hmm.
operations on the wet lab side at least.
Hmm.
Not to disrespect my friends on the clinical research coordinator side, they hustle hard. Okay,
Yeah,
they were
yeah.
still there helping me out when they could, or things that they could help me out with. But yeah, I was running most of the daily operations at that point. I got to the point where like basically after he came back and like all the stuff went down, he asked my PI for permission to take 3 months off and like kind of like take a leave of absence.
Yeah.
And this was about the same week that the country was about to shut down. And I believe like that by the end of that week, my institution just said, yeah, like all non-essential employees like do not come in, like
Hmm.
research labs, like do what you need to do with your mice and like
Yeah.
whatever, like shut it down because you're like indefinitely we're shutting down.
Hmm.
And so I had explained that I had gotten sick that Wednesday before they announced anything, and I was kind of like plotting my way to figure out like how to confront this issue with my PI. And then so the following Tuesday we had a lab meeting planned, and at
Hmm.
about 1 a.m. that day or slash night, we get an email. And I actually want to correct myself from the last
Yeah.
podcast, because I
Yeah.
actually, after we hung up, I was like playing back the trauma in my mind and like
Hmm.
remembering details. Actually, I remember what the email said. It said something like, so I booked a flight for tomorrow to go to Brazil. I might not make lab meeting because I'm going to be at the airport. And so
Wow.
I had no like expectation that he was going to make this lab meeting basically, and I was like,
Yeah.
this is like my time to say something
Hmm.
basically. So the next day we join this Zoom call, and like honestly at this point I had only heard of Zoom from like my friends who working like 9 to 5 corporate jobs. Like I'd never
Yeah.
really used Zoom. Like I didn't really know.
Now that I think about it, yeah, same here.
Right, it's the
But
culture
now,
shock.
yeah, right now, Zoom is like Google Chrome to us now. Like everyone knows what it
Yeah,
is.
seriously, it's like the AIM of like the early
Oh my,
2000s.
oh my God. Do you remember your AIM username?
I do. Actually, mine wasn't really that crazy,
Oh,
but
what is it? What is it?
it was Carol K249. And literally the numbers mean nothing. I asked my best friend, like, what number should I use? And she was just like, use these numbers. But yeah, I didn't have anything crazy. I guess that makes me kind of boring. I know everyone has funny ones like emo XO love.
Mine was okay. I made my AIM when I was I want to say I was like in second or third grade. So this is like 2002, 2003. And my friends are like, it'll be cool if you're like, I don't know why. We love using the word like lil, like little, but
Yes,
Lil.
yes.
It'll be a lil, whatever. And then
Oh my
I guess because
gosh.
I'm like really short. I've been short like my entire life. I'm short king. So my friends were just like, you should be named like Lil Boy D. And I was like, oh my God, that sounds so slay. I wasn't out yet, so that sounds so slay. And so I don't know
Oh
what
my God.
what's the straight equivalent of slay that
It's
rock.
dope.
That's
That's
dope. That's
dope.
dope. Oh my God.
Yeah.
That's how gay I am. Oh my
I couldn't think of the word
God.
dope.
Yeah. I was like, that rocks. I was like, okay, yeah, like Lil yes. And then my lunch pin number was 3476. And so it was Lil underscore boy underscore D 3476.
Oh my God. So many characters. Like, oh my goodness.
And I use Lil Boy D for like everything. AIM, Zanga, MySpace. But I think it kind of phased out
Mm,
after probably Facebook. Yeah, because
yeah.
around the Facebook time, I changed Lil Boy D 3476 to Dude, it's Darian. I know, really lame. And the S in it's is a Z because I'm quirky. I'm
Yeah. Or like,
quirky.
do you remember how people used to abbreviate Asian as AZN?
Yes,
Like
yes.
little Asian baby?
Yeah. Oh my God.
That definitely
Or
was
like,
someone's handle.
yes, yes. Or another thing that we quite often use was like illy,
Ellie, people still use
illy.
that, I think.
Yeah. Or like I don't know about you guys as in like your friend group, but my friend group we always said the word illy. Illy, like it just brings me back to like Tumblr days.
Yeah.
Emo, Tumblr. Okay, anyway. Back. Do.
I was just thinking, like just to disclose, like the vibe is so different now. I dimmed my lights and like also I'm not gonna
Oh.
lie, I poured
Oh.
myself a drink because
Oh.
after hours I was like, I'm gonna have to stay awake somehow.
I
So
am I thought I was going to be pooped, but honestly, I was like, I'm very excited to talk to you. After eating dinner, it's very common to grab boba after dinner. So
mhm.
grab boba with my lab mates. And then I was like, sorry guys, I gotta go to Costco, grab some gas, rushed home. And then I had to give Helix well, I didn't really walk him. I just like played. I bought this little like long toy that has a ball and you could just like throw it. And then you like wave the stick and it throws a ball really, really far.
Mhm.
And we did that for like 30 minutes. Came back and I brushed him down like crazy because I haven't brushed him in 2 days. I try to brush him every night. And then fed him, got on this call. Well, first I answered your email.
I wanted to be clear because I was like, okay, like I've already poured myself this drink. Like now, like if he's
Yeah.
not actually on this call, am I gonna be drunk by the time? Oh, the Zoom call. The Zoom call.
Zoom call, he'll be a little late because he might be late or he might not make it because he'll be at the airport. I mean, sent
Yes.
this email at 1 a.m.
Yes. I did not have much hope that he would make this meeting.
Yeah.
So basically what happened was I was like, okay, I need to muster up the courage to like say what I'm gonna say. And like I don't know if people are in the same wave as me, but I just like I'm not really confrontational person and I like don't
Mm,
really like stirring the pot. Like I don't know if it stems from being an Asian child. Like I always have felt like
mm,
I have a hard time speaking up for myself anyway. But I was like, I have to be a good
mm.
girl and do this. So I joined this Zoom call. Like I said, I was not really used to like Zoom etiquette or like, camera on versus camera off, like what's
Yeah.
normal and what's weird and not weird. But
Right.
I was just like, I'm not really comfortable in this conversation right now, so I'm gonna keep my camera off, okay?
Hmm. Yeah.
Because it'll make me feel less nervous.
Hey, like baby steps, just mustering up the courage to even bring the story out. You're making huge strides already.
Yeah, and like I also have to like reiterate too that like I just felt like at this time like I had so much built up emotion over like
Hmm.
everything I've been through and like
Yeah.
I like honestly the only reason why I got through it for so long is because of my other coworkers who were amazing. Like our clinical
Hmm.
research coordinators were like I don't know, some of the best like coworkers I've ever had and they
Hmm.
all encouraged me like from day one to say something. It was just my thing where like I just was like scared to say something and
Holy shit. Like I went through the same exact process. I don't know about you, but for me, for a long time, I just kept telling myself, like, it's okay. It's going to get better. I don't want to like stir the pot. I'll just keep quiet and really hope that things do get better by itself. I tried to remain optimistic, but there's only so long where you can try to like keep your head up high while you're drowning, you know?
Yeah, seriously. And so like I joined like this lab meeting and it was my PI, our senior lab person, which like the background on this dude is like he was a postdoc with my PI, but he basically stayed around to like consult on like experiments and stuff.
Yeah.
And I don't know, maybe he was just like comfortable with where he was
Yeah.
there. And anyway, but he was very like his role in this is that he would kind of like pop in on the wet lab in and out. He was never always there. Again, we were not really supervised on the daily basis.
Hmm.
But he kind of, I think like they both, I feel like they both felt like they knew something was going on, but they just like didn't know the extent of it, which is like, you know,
Mm.
on me for not saying it. But anyway, so I hop on the Zoom call, my camera's off. I'm so nervous. And they're like, oh yeah, like I don't know if I'm just gonna call him Ben for the remainder of this call.
Okay. Yeah, let's do that.
Like I
Ben.
don't know if Ben is gonna make it to this call because I don't know if you guys saw his email, but he, you know, he's like on the way to like Brazil. And
Yeah.
I segue and I'm like, yeah, so I've, you know, before everything went down, like I've been like kind of like consolidating my like feelings and thoughts on this. And I just want to start off and just say that like I was kind of upset that you guys made a decision, like a big decision that was going to affect me on the
Hmm.
wet lab side and like not talk to me about it. Because I don't know if you guys realize, but like I'm doing all this work by myself.
Yeah.
And like obviously like I totally understand that he's going through some personal stuff, but like this like everything that I've been going through has like, you know, much predated any of the personal stuff that he's going through right now at this moment. And like
Yeah.
I just was like not comfortable saying something, or like I try to handle this situation personally with him and and like try to work out scheduling like, you know, our Google calendars and whatnot and covering visits
Yeah.
with him. But it just like he doesn't really like respect my time. And like I had to
Right.
go into like very specific, like they wanted to hear like, you know, very specific instances, you know, before
Hmm.
raising a claim and whatnot. And I was going off the rails being like, yeah, like sometimes he like he comes in from 10 to 3. There's some days where he'll just like electively say like, oh, I'm gonna work from home
Hmm.
today. And yo, this was before COVID. Like, think about it. Like, in
Yeah.
no universe would a lab technician work from home. Like, what are you doing? Like, is this Breaking Bad? Like, do you have like a setup in your basement? Like, what are you talking about? You're working from home.
Oh gosh.
Yeah.
I mean,
And
the only thing I can think of is like perhaps quantifying data, but I'm almost certain that he wasn't doing that, right?
yeah, you have to like, you know, have a lot of like computational biology knowledge to be able to do that. Not, you definitely don't have that. I mean, like extensive knowledge at his level.
How did the other lab members feel about Ben?
Well, they all were trying to encourage me to say something because it affected them too. It didn't
Mm,
affect them to the extent that it affected me because like whatever he didn't do, they would just pass off to me, but they would just be like, hey, like check it. They would check in with me and be like, hey, like, are you okay? Because you're doing a lot of this work yourself. And they
mm.
were very aware of the situation.
I'm a huge proponent of if you see something is going on, you should say something. And so I think it's good that they talk to you to see how you're doing and encouraging to speak with them. Maybe like if you're having trouble doing that, they could have also chimed in a bit or at least like give a nudge to Ben like, hey, we see that Carol is, you know, affected by you doing this, or she feels a little overwhelmed or stressed out. I just want to check in with you, Ben. Like, is everything okay? I mean, I
Mhm.
don't know if those conversations actually took place, but that's what I'm thinking. But at the
Yeah,
same time,
yeah,
it's like you don't want to always step in for someone else and try to speak for them because sometimes you don't know what what you are going through or what Ben is going through, and sometimes you do have to let those problems work themselves out. You know?
yeah. Basically, but the only way we would talk about it in context is like kind of like what you mentioned earlier, like complaining with your coworkers vibe. Like we never really
Yeah.
spoke out about it, like in like what's the take action. But like I don't know. I feel like maybe, you know, these our coordinators like had a lot on their plate. Like they had
Hmm.
so much responsibility. And
Yeah.
so maybe it was just like I feel like maybe it just like wasn't really in their bandwidth. But also like to reiterate, like there was quite a big separation between like wet lab side and clinical side in
Hmm.
our lab because of the whole campuses thing, you know, like I like sometimes there'd be days where we're just isolated at a different campus than the rest
Hmm.
of our college. colleagues because of the whole like wet lab being a different campus thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, and that made it kind of difficult. But anyway, backtracking to the conversation at hand, like I remember just like, yeah, like spewing all these things, and like I like would tell them like, yeah, like he like works from home some days, and like it doesn't even make sense. Like I don't know why I get like roped into doing stuff just because he doesn't feel like coming in. Like it's kind of insane. And I also told them the story that like this one time he came in at like 10, like almost 11 in the morning, and I was like, oh, like, hi, how are you, how was your weekend, whatever. He looks stressed, and he's like, oh, Carol, like I think I like lost my wallet sometime between like yesterday and today. And I look at him, and this day was kind of important because it was like a day that we were moving one of our instruments from one campus to the other campus, and it's an expensive piece of equipment, and he was oversee because at the time he was a lab manager.
I already know what you're gonna say, but just go for it.
He looks at me and he goes, so I gotta go. I'm gonna go look for my wallet. And he happened to have been in my hometown actually, and like he said that he went to a dentist appointment or something, and that's where he suspects like he dropped his wallet on the street. And I was like, boy, if you're in my hometown and you drop your wallet, that thing is long gone. Okay, there's like no driving around. It's been a day, right? Like there's no driving around looking for a wallet. Like when you lose a wallet, like the common sense thing is like cancel. Why don't you just call? Cards.
But if he thinks he lost at the dentist office, why won't he give them a call and be like, hey, did you find a wallet for Ben, whatever, you know?
Yeah, that's so true. I didn't actually think of that. That's so true. It had been a day, and like at that point you have to like it's just own up to the fact that it's lost and like just do damage control. Like a normal person would be like, let me cancel my credit cards, let me report it lost. But like I have to carry on with my life. Like I can't just drive around aimlessly looking for my lonely wallet on the street.
Exactly. Yeah.
It's crazy. But what he literally like left, and I asked him like, hey, like what are you gonna do about this instrument getting moved? And he was like, oh yeah, like I talked to the guy and he's just gonna do it himself. Basically, like my institution had like a maintenance, we had like a maintenance department that like would do stuff like this for us. But I had like just told him like you should like supervise still though, because you don't know that they're not gonna like drop it or like mess up the calibrations on this particular instrument, blah blah blah. But you know, it was just like clearly like it's just one of those things that's like a little detail, but if you are someone that really prioritizes your work, like you wouldn't let anyone just move stuff for you. But anyway, so then he leaves, and the next day he comes in, he goes, guess where my wallet was when I got home? I was like, where? His mailbox. I'm like, I told you, like
wait, someone returned it for him.
Yes, yeah, but that's like the best case scenario, right? Like the only thing is like only two options if you lose a wallet is like someone steals your shit or someone a Samaritan finds it and returns it to you. That's literally the two options. That's it. There's nothing you can do. So I told them the story and they were just like flabbergasted. And then all of a sudden, my PI goes, hey, Ben, are you there? Because at that time, I had no idea that someone could just hop on a call.
Gagatron.
I have been going on for like 15, 20 minutes at this point, right?
Gagatron. Gagaroni.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Well, I mean, okay, at the same time, I think it is very important that happened. Let's say, you know, from Ben's perspective, let's give him benefit of the doubt that he genuinely, maybe he's just oblivious and he genuinely did not know how you were feeling. I'm not justifying his behavior. Like it definitely, the things that he did were annoying and it pissed you off, but maybe he really didn't understand how you felt and he didn't understand the extent of his actions. And so maybe this is what he needed to hear, like a little like slap in the face, so that he realized like, oh, damn, the stuff that I did made my coworker upset. And then it allows him to like reflect and learn from his mistakes. That's the best case scenario.
Yeah. And like to reiterate, I was like my voice was shaking. Like I sounded like I'd been crying. Like actually, no, I think I did cry in this fucking Zoom call. Which like is a little bit embarrassing to me because I'm like kind of a crier in conflict, but like I was just like so emotional. I was like, oh my God, like I can't believe that I'm tattletaling on my coworker.
I won't say it's not tattletaling. It's issues that have been unresolvable for a couple of months, and Definitely, I think you should have said something from the get-go so that your coworker would realize what he's doing is wrong. I think it's fine. You have to go through these things in life so that you learn to build boundaries and you learn to step up and be more confrontational. Everything in life isn't going to be smooth, and you have to go through these little road bumps.
Yeah, yeah, for sure. And like it was crazy because like I kid you not, the second my PI said that he was in the
Mhm,
call, I like my heart stopped. I was like, oh my gosh, like he knows that I said this stuff about him. But then like literally Ben didn't like respond, but we
mhm.
could see that he was in the call, and basically my PI kicked him off the call and removed him.
Mm,
And he was like, I'm so sorry that, Ben just joined. He might have heard a little bit of that, but like at this
mhm,
point, like it doesn't matter to me, like that he heard it or whatever. But
mhm.
clearly, like we're sorry. Like we had no idea like the extent of the situation. Like if I'm being honest, like yeah, there have been some questions about his
That's good. That is
performance.
good. I'm happy to hear that because I've heard stories where the PI, whoever, would victim blame. Will be like,
Yeah.
well, why did you let that happen? I think what your PI said was a really good response, and I'm happy that they were able to take it very well.
Yeah. And like they could tell I was emotional and they felt so bad. And they were like, okay, like we're gonna like set up a call with him and
Hmm.
and talk to him and figure it out. And basically over the course of the next like 2 weeks, like I would meet with them and like continue this conversation with them. I would reiterate being like, yeah, I just don't see how this is going to work if so and so is in another country. And this is like the point where, like, you remember, like, they were grounding flights or not allowing like flights between countries
Yeah.
anymore. So he
Hmm.
was stuck in another country completely. And
And
I
I'm sure
like,
they would have to get quarantined for like 2 weeks.
yeah,
I think they were just implementing that policy too. Not really smart of him to do that.
yeah, it was like you remember, like, it was absolutely mayhem at that time to be like traveling and being stuck in another country. Like, it was crazy.
Hmm.
And, but like, yeah, and like in those calls that I had with them after like the initial one, I had to reiterate to them, I was like, listen, if any, we work in research, obviously we have like a lot of responsibility, but think about it, like, would anyone with a full-time job just leave the country if they cared about their job? If the
Hmm.
whole world shut down, like he doesn't care about working here. Like, and I had to
Hmm.
point that out to them. I was like, and he like hasn't shown that he's cared in a very long time, unfortunately. And basically, after I spoke with them a final time about this issue, they like basically decided to like let him go.
Hmm.
And then so they had like the Zoom call with him, and like basically they reported it to me. Like they were like, yeah, we told him we had to let him go, and we had a very serious talk with him, and he like owned up to his mistakes. And like I know I effed up, and but like they also felt like he was kind of trying to save his job a little bit, but you know what I'm
Oh,
saying. but
yeah.
but basically they said like, oh, like we don't want to like hurt your future down the line, because honestly like my PI is such a nice guy. Like he was like, oh, like Ben is just like he's like 25 and young and I'm like, okay,
Uh,
homeboy cannot handle responsibility, but whatever, like let's just whatever, okay. But he is really a forgiving person, and basically he was like, I'm not going to penalize you or like not write you a reference ever, but like I can't recommend you for any role that's like not without supervision, unfortunately. Like I can't do that with good conscience is what he told me.
hey,
So
I I like that. Okay, wow. That's a good reply actually. Like your PI is obviously not going to say anything bad about Ben, but is still wanting to help Ben with his career
yeah,
to some extent, to some extent. So I like that actually. Wow.
yeah, like reiterate, yeah, up top, I think my PA is a good person. Like it's just like his management style, unfortunately, like
Hmm.
created a monster essentially because he was so hands off. He's not a micromanager. He really
Hmm.
trusts the people, like the youngins that work with him,
Yeah.
especially like 20-something-year-olds. Like it's kind of commendable. Um, but unfortunately, when you're too nice, people, take advantage, like we've
Yeah.
covered, and it's, not ideal. And like he would say this all the time, my PI. He would be like, no news is good news. And I had to look at him in the face and be like, bro, that is not in
No
any way
news,
true.
no news is good news. I'm trying to interpret like what does he mean by that statement?
Like
Like
he would assume that if he doesn't hear anything bad, that everything was fine, That's what the way it was before.
I guess that's the same thing as like ignorant is bliss.
Yeah.
Where like if I don't know what's going on, then
Well,
that's okay.
kind
That's good.
of. Yeah,
Kinda.
like I kind of think of it as like, like if you had a bad experience at a restaurant, you're more likely to write a review on Yelp, right?
Oh
Versus
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I would say that's kind of like what I think what he meant by that. But yeah,
Mm,
like I mentioned in the last podcast, the previous lab manager had been there for 5 years, so he was just used to like him handling everything and nothing ever going
mhm.
astray. And basically, like, I mean, when shit started hitting the fan, like I just handled things, and so like nothing ever seemed like it was wrong from
Mm,
like a work perspective. But
mm.
there's a lot of things wrong with the fact that work wasn't being shared between
Yeah, yeah.
two people. Oh, I guess like one other part of the story that I'll just end off with like he ended up making also a stupid mistake of taking his work laptop with him to Brazil. And
So, like, did he ever return it
he
or?
did, but like it was
Okay.
such a long process and he had to mail it back basically. But like basically, my institution, big institution, they do not take traveling with work product very lightly. So it was kind of like not good that he did that. And like there's like a ton of rules, actually, laws. I don't know
Hmm.
if you know this, like FBI type of laws about traveling
Oh,
with work product and like especially like research stuff. You know what I'm saying? Like not
I
good.
did not know that.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I guess he got what he deserved. I learned this one saying, and I really like this saying: the trash will take itself out. Maybe from his perspective, this is like the reality check. Oh, damn, I need to get my shit together because I just,
Got fired.
yeah, like I got fired because of me being irresponsible, me bringing this work laptop. Maybe best case scenario is like his life just goes uphill and he learns from these moments. So I just hope the best for him. And it sucks that you had to go through that. But I think really like the silver lining of this is, you also learn to deal in the future, knock on wood, that you don't have to deal with someone like him again. But if you do, like you'll know how to kind of approach it. And you've learned to lay like boundaries and you'll know how to be a bit more confrontational. I think like you and I are very similar. Well, except I'm a bit more confrontational, but I'm a people pleaser.
Hmm.
When I say something on my mind, I will like low-key kind of sugarcoat it, but also bring it up to that person's attention. But I learned how to do it in a very careful way. And these are the three things that I've learned. And I think the way that you approached your PI is actually very smart. One of my previous colleagues told me to never say, you did this or they did this to me. Refrain from saying that and say, I feel this way. I'm a bit upset because X, Y, and Z. State what you see. So I see that Ben has been doing X, Y, and Z, and I've been doing more work. I've been doing this. And then the second thing is say how you feel because of what you see. Say how you feel. And then I feel upset. I feel overwhelmed. I feel overworked. I think it's a little bit unfair. And then third thing is say what you want. I think moving forward, I would like for Ben to do half the responsibility and then I'll do the other half. So y'all learn like those three things. You will go far in life. Say what you see, say what you feel, and then say what you want. Just that honesty and just being transparent will really get you far in life. But Carol, oh my gosh, this has been such a wonderful day talking to you. For those that don't know, I talked to Carol twice today. This is our second time recording. The first recording will be last week's episode, and then this recording will be obviously this week's episode. So 2 separate weeks. So you guys get 2 weeks of Carol Lamb. All right, before we end the podcast, Carol, do you have any advice for our listeners?
Yes. So I have two pieces of advice.
Slay. That rocks.
I can't take credit for this because I didn't come up with this. It was
Wow,
a specific
plagiarism.
specific TikToker called a specific TikToker named Your Rich BFF, and she kind of like does like finance stuff, but whatever. Her content is applicable across the board. But anyway, she posted something maybe like last week that really stuck with me, and it said like something to the effect of you should always be kind, but you don't always have to be nice. And she went into detail. She said being kind is letting your boss or your coworkers know that you're going on vacation ahead of time. Being nice is never going on vacation because you feel guilty and you don't want to put your coworkers or boss in that position, but that's not your responsibility. And so I feel like that's a good like summary of like my experience working my first year as a research tech. Like I said, it
Yeah.
was an up and down battle, like working in COVID. And I don't think I mentioned it, covered a little bit of this, but like, yeah, basically since he was stuck, like I worked like half of COVID by myself, basically. And it was
Mhm.
an insane time because of like
Yeah.
the staffing restrictions. I was basically, there were some days where I was the only person in
Mhm.
across the board, like between wet lab and between like clinical staff. I was kind of like
Mhm.
doing things outside of my job description because of that. But
Yeah.
anyway, so I put myself in that position though because I didn't say anything way before I should have, you know what I'm saying?
Mhm.
And so just to reiterate, if something's going on and it's like you're put in a specific position where you have to like light yourself on fire to keep other people warm, like that's not worth it to you. And like at the
Oh,
end of the day,
that's a good analogy.
right,
Okay.
I definitely stole that too from someone, but but you should just never put yourself in the position where you're going to hurt yourself just for the sake
Mhm.
of other people. And it's hard, but yeah, like I feel like I totally relate to that. And that's like, something that I'm still working on personally. And it's an
Mhm.
ongoing thing.
Yeah.
But my other piece of advice, yeah, I literally thought of it as I was like taking a nap before getting on this call again. And now it's like I forgot. Shit, I had a good one. What was it? Oh yeah, like I guess I didn't really go into what I'm doing now, but like
Mhm.
basically I ended up leaving my research tech job because
Yeah.
basically like I mentioned to you before, I was basically the unofficial lab manager for my lab
Yeah.
and not getting paid for that work, unfortunately. And like, even though it was just a few tasks, it slowly became like the majority of my job.
Mhm.
And unfortunately, like I just had to be really honest with myself and be like, do I see myself like having a career as a lab manager? Honestly,
Mhm.
no.
That's good. That's actually really good to think about how what you're doing now and will that benefit you and your long-term goal? And if you're able
Yeah.
to recognize that and be, what's the word? Proactive, I guess.
Yeah. And like basically I was up, my PI was trying to promote me to be a lab manager. And my whole tidbit about like how HR sucks is basically HR like has been in the process of making a lab manager role within individual labs because of like I said, like I'm sure there's other labs that were
Mhm.
facing the same issues and people not being really happy with their title and like getting compensated for their work
Mhm.
anyway. But apparently they were trying to make it equal across the board. And basically, the only reason why I wasn't able to get promoted is because I didn't have 7 years of experience, which I think that's kind of a lot of experience to be a lab manager.
Yeah. If you don't mind me asking, do you know what the salary of a lab manager at your institution or at your?
I have no idea, but like I know that my bottom line asked because I knew that I didn't have the years of requirement. Like I asked for like 65K, and like I don't think that's like a lot. Like that's not a lot at all. A lab manager that has that level of experience should at least be making 75K in Boston to like live with like a livable wage or
Mhm.
whatever. But it was like hard because it was back and forth, and at this point like I like invested a lot of time, whatever, into this lab. And I was like, do I stay? Do I not? And like, I also didn't share my whole like, I also took the MCAT.
Girl, same here. We talked about
Sometime,
this, right? Yeah, we did.
yes, we
We talked about
did.
this last week.
Like basically, I took the MCAT and I like was kind of the same as you. Like I was like I could like go with the score. Like it wasn't horrible, but it wasn't great. I was like I could take it again, whatever. But then like after I got my score back, like I truly felt nothing. Like I didn't feel accomplished. I didn't feel disappointed. I didn't feel anything. And I feel like that was a huge indicator that like this is just like not what like I'm passionate about. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying?
yeah.
Unfortunately, it's tough because like I am like a huge nerd and I love science and I love reading about it, like learning about it. I'm like trivia queen. I love random science facts and stuff like that.
Hmm.
But like just because you had that, like that's like an interest doesn't mean that it's like
Yeah.
what you're meant to do. Anyway, I remember now. It's actually advice I got from a physician because like I guess like the one good thing about working at institution is like I work with so many of like the smartest people in the fucking country, right? And like they
Hmm.
all have such like value advice. And I actually got this advice from a physician, and they said like I said I was going back and forth about the MD thing, PhD thing, like should I go to med school or not? Like what do I do with my life? And they said to me, realistically, Carol, at a job you really like, you can only really enjoy 80% of that job. And that other 20% you might really hate. But
Mm.
80% is pretty good, right? But I can tell you this, if you're not enjoying your day-to-day life 80% of the time, that job isn't worth it to you. And that's like also something that's been holding me back on like doing content creating or taking it as seriously. I don't know how you create such good content on such like a time crunch. Like I don't have that type of balance. Maybe we could talk about it like offline sometime, but I don't have the bandwidth to do that at my full-time job. But I don't know if I mentioned this. I ended up taking a job in market research for a biotech company. So I'm like
That's cool. That's so neat.
Right.
You're still using your science background and you're like dipping your toes into another field.
Yeah, like it's kind of adjacent to marketing or like adjacent to like, you know, the business world or whatever.
Yeah.
But I get to still use my science knowledge like you mentioned, and basically my job is like researching a ton of like cell therapy companies and like gene therapy and that kind of thing, and like finding out if they would be good clients for the company I work for and things like that.
The research I'm doing is gene therapy. So nudge,
Hey.
nudge. About 10 years from now, I'll be like, actually, the goal is to publish several papers. I'll be like, I published several papers and I have a company now and let's work together.
Could you imagine? Could you imagine? Maybe we can like have a follow-up call like after I've like settled that down in this job a little more, because this is literally like my second week or whatever. I mean, I feel like I don't have like a full opinion on what I'm doing right now. I'm still figuring out how to use freaking Teams. Okay, I'm not a Teams person.
Same here. I just got used to Zoom, and then some of my other meetings are on Google Meet, and it's like Teams. It's like the Internet Explorer of Google Chrome.
Yeah, so that's my tidbit of advice for people. Just like truly, like, I mean, it's so cheesy, like follow your passion, but like truly, like life's already so much work. You might as well do something you enjoy. And I feel like I've given valued advice. That's all I have to say.
This also kind of ties in with the Everything Everywhere All at Once. If you don't want to hear not a spoiler, but if you don't want to hear the main message of the movie, please skip about 30 seconds ahead. Okay. I'll just pause. I'll pause. So you have time to skip. You have time to take your gloves off, grab your phone, and press skip. Okay. Okay. So I feel like that aligns with the main message of Everything Everywhere All at Once. Just be nice to everyone and nothing matters. We are just a small speck of dust on a planet in a large solar system. Our problems are so meaningless. So that's my little tidbit. All right, Carol, if my listeners want to follow you, where can they find you?
I guess the best places to follow me is on Instagram and TikTok. My username is the same on both. It's Carol, KLM. And I post about, you know, fashion, beauty, like life vlogs. I know, like total departure,
She's
like
versatile.
what we talked about.
Wow.
But yeah, I really appreciate a follow. You guys, like anything I talk about, you want to see more of my quirky personality in real time.
Guys, please look at her Instagram. It is like so aesthetically pleasing, and it's just like aesthetically it's consistent. If you scroll all the way down, like it just all looks the same, like in a good way. Like
thank you.
But you know what I mean? Like aesthetic, like it's your photography skills like shine through. Chef's kiss. So yes, everyone, please follow Carol. She's amazing. And I really enjoyed this podcast with you. I'm bad at ending these episodes. Thank you so much for listening. And I hope all y'all have a great day. Alrighty. Bye guys. Or no. Bye y'all. Bye y'all. Bye y'all.
That was so cute. Oh my God.